science and technology and various fields of science have transformed according to new needs and demands. The IT is providing new platform for various branches of arts and science, particularly biological sciences, to innovate and transform according to modern lines. It is also essential to introduce new technologies to make various educational branches more applied and innovative. As it is rightly said, that learning something can be a fun and can increase innate curiosities among the budding learners. By integrating specific learning skills with the general curriculum, universities, colleges, and schools can take biological sciences to a new level. Keeping in view the importance of innovative and skill in education, the Department of Zoology, Government Degree College Boys Anantnag, is organizing a webinar with primary focus on some emerging technologies, innovations that will enhance the skill aptitude among the students, teachers, scholars, and learners. And the agenda of the seminar is the role of information and communication technology, ICT, for enhancing teaching learning process. Smart biological sciences and emerging area, the role of geoinformation system and remote sensing technologies in biological sciences, high-tech mushroom cultivation using ICT-based technology. Thank you very much. I welcome again all my participants who are participating in this webinar seminar with the core of my heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Syed Javed Hussain Sahab. So, before we are going to start, participants can also join us YouTube live if they are not able to participate in Zoom here. So, as you know, education system has changed drastically in last 30 years. In past, education was simply to literate the human resource. But nowadays, more stress is given to technical education or skilled education. So we are going to discuss some of aspects, some of the technological interventions which are useful for biological sciences. Our first resource person is Dr. Manzoor Ahmed Mir, who has been recently he has joined as associate professor, Department of Animal Sciences, Central West of Kashmir, and he was formerly head Department of Bioresources. And you can imagine that he's a great motivator and influencer. He has so much contribution in research and academics, and is well involved in ICT-based technology. He has recently started MOOC course in immunology. I'm sure after completion of his lecture, he's going to discuss about MOOC course. Without wasting time, I would like to invite Dr. Manzoor Ahmed Mir, Associate Professor at Central West of Kashmir. Please welcome Manzoor Sahab.
Is it fine? Is anything visible on the screen?
Yes, yes, everything is visible. Okay, you go ahead.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum to all the participants. Nahmadu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. First, I welcome all the participants, dear colleagues, and I would first like to thank Dr. Umar Saab for inviting me to deliver this piece of talk regarding this role of information and communication technology for enhancing teaching learning process. I'm highly obliged to him as well as his team, and at the same time, I congratulate him for organizing such workshop because this is the need of the hour. We are presently suffering from so much of depression, so much of this unprecedented time is what we have been going through because of the COVID-19 and other reasons as well since last 1.5 years. So this has given rise to the need or the urgency to go through different types of teaching learning modes which are online rather than the offline where we teacher and student used to directly interact with each other. So I would be throwing light on some of the aspects of this use of information technology or information communication technology for enhancing the teaching learning process. Gone are the days when we used to have a one-way directed stream of teaching where the teacher used to deliver the lecture to the students and they used to go through it either through the PowerPoint technology, either through the chalk and talk method or by any other means. But now the times have changed where we need to have a bidirectional way, that it has a blended mode of learning has to be there where the teacher and learner both, that is student and the teacher, can interact with each other, but they can involve themselves, they can engage themselves, they can interact with themselves so as to become the knowledge creators tomorrow rather than just assimilating the knowledge. So this has to be a two-way process where the learner and the teacher both have to involve themselves in teaching learning process so that they can gain significantly. Before going to we know in our present times that we are rather than bombarded by the techno cultures. If we go for the technology culture, we see from the driving where even the phones are prohibited for being used. We are always on the smartphones. We go to the airports, you go to the educational institutions or any walk of life per se. You go to even to the small schools, initially the phones were banned, but now they had been allowed. Not only the phones, but the electronic gadgets of different varieties and types that have been used consistently by the people from all walks without any age group or without gender bias and everything. So they are being used. So we are presently in ICT literacy, that is information and communication and technology literacy. We have to go for the ICT competency in the 21st century in order to cope with the demands or the challenge which has been posed to a teacher as a knowledge provider. If we talk about the ICT information communications technology, there is no walk of life. There is either not even a single way of life which is not being influenced by this. Either you talk starting from the vehicle parking to routing to delivery scheduling to businesses to healthcare to radio frequency, barcoding of the articles or for business purposes or for any walk of life, you will see that information technology plays a key and central role that. Rather than if we are saying that the most successful person on the earth right now, Jeff Bezos being from the Amazon or being the Uber CEO, another one, or being the Facebook Mark Zuckerberg, or you talk about any of the billionaire company or which is listed in the New York Stock Exchange or anywhere in the world, in all the stock exchanges of the world, they are all based on ICTs. You talk about from Facebook to Amazon to Uber to any of the platforms, you will see that they have been consistently and heavily dependent upon the ICT. This ICT has certain characteristics. If we talk about the efficiency in the ICT, then the major important features of this are that it is very fast, it is very cheap, it is fewer steps are required. You need not to build too many universities, to build too many classrooms, to build too much of infrastructure. So in that terms, it is cheap. Very few steps are needed. not to formally enroll in a course like university, take admission, sit in examination courses. It's at your doorstep. Sitting at the home, you can avail this facility of this online. Similarly, there are less people are involved. You need not to have too many. For example, the ratio of teacher and students in universities, which is normally 1:15 or 1:20. But in here, you can engage thousands of students in remote corners of the world. It's not necessary that they need to be physically present at a particular point. So then less paperwork. The paperwork is not needed, that much of paperwork, which is used in other platforms of teaching learning, like that of the one-to-one or classroom or offline teaching modes. Then the effectiveness of this ICT technologies is that it is most interactive, where both, it's a two-way street of signaling, like we say in biology, that both teacher and learner, they are engaging in this teaching learning process. Fewer errors are the chances are very less. The knowledge which is being imparted by the teacher to the student can be cross-checked. It remains stored. This information is, and the teacher has to be accurate, which was not the case when the offline teaching modes were there. There were no checks and balances. Then it has customized. You can avail of your own, how the way you want it. You can customize as per your requirements, as per your needs, because as we had now adopted in universities, different choice-based credit systems. You can compile now the degree of your own, what courses you want to earn. It's not that you want them from Kashmir University, you can get them from the Howard School, Business School, or Howard Medical School, or from California, Caltech, or from Jawaharlal Nehru University, from Kashmir University. So this is, you can customize your degrees as the courses as well. As the impetus has been also focused on this in the national new educational policy, which is to be implemented very soon. Then it is personalized, it's achievable, and this is transparent system, and it is searchable. The Google and internet is before you, and you can search each and everything. Then there is innovation. When you are using this ICT technology and you are interacting with each other, then the new products and new technologies are bound to come into the forefront. That's what is the mandate of the educational institution, that is the innovation. If we talk about the ICT tools in educational benefits, how they are going to benefit us, ICT tools can empower teachers and learners, promote change, and foster the development of 21st century skills, what are needed. ICT tools provide creativity and problem-solving abilities, information processing skills, communication skills, and other higher order thinking skills as well. So digital learning is an educational approach that integrates technology, connectivity, content, and obviously the learner and as well as the teacher. The problem here is that there is a competition, or rather there is a force on a teacher to adopt technology rather than to reject it. Because we have a habit of that, especially in the developing countries, that we have developed allergies with the technology. And it's one of the reasons why we are lacking behind the West and the other developed nations. With the, as we know that this technology has to be adopted, and change is the only constant factor in history, and we have to change with the time. So the technology has come today, we have to adapt ourselves to this. As we know that we had adopted this technology in our school management tasks or university management tasks or in higher educational institutions, that 70% of this technology is being used for the management of these institutes, while as only 30% of the technology is being utilized for teaching and learning activities. Otherwise, the case should have been otherwise, where most of the technology should have been used for teaching learning process rather than that of the management skills or that of the administrative skills. So technology, as per the Bill Gates, we know this man needs no introduction, is known to everybody. Technology is just a tool in terms of getting the kids or the learners working together and motivating them. The teacher is the most important person. He will remain most important person, and all the responsibility, how he takes his class, how he makes this teaching learning process interactive, efficient, and effective, it all depends upon the teacher. That means how this teacher is going to use this technology. To teach or not to teach, education is not the question. The real question is how to harvest the power of the technology to meet the challenge of the 21st century and make education relevant, responsive, and effective for everyone, anywhere, anytime. So this is the mantra, and this is the thing what we have to keep in our mind, that it's not the technology or the teacher, it is that we have to utilize this technology to meet and mitigate the challenge of the 21st century, like that of responsiveness, effectiveness. It has to be massive in scale that everyone acquires it, and it is anywhere, should be available anywhere at any point of time, without having these hours restricted in universities. This is one of the benefits of this online teaching, where you can acquire this at any point of time. So ICT doesn't automatically add quality to teaching and learning. ICT application can accelerate and improve learning process, that is the basic skills, problems, concept development. ICT provides means of gathering, connecting, and data about teaching and learning. Because we know at present times, we are being bombarded with a lot of information from all, be it the source of TV, television, or the radio, or the FM channels, or the YouTube channels, or be it the internet, or be it any other platform. We are being bombarded with this information. So what is this information need to be analyzed? It needs to be interpreted, and something good needs to come out of it. So ICT can create that opportunity. So it can make significant contribution to teaching and learning across all subjects. The subject is not a barrier. You can have virtual labs really available for all the practical subjects what are available in the curriculum of the school, or as well as that of the higher education. So ICT can be a tool for school improvement. ICT is a core skill which is essential for participation in today's society and economy. The effective and systemic use of ICT is integral to the wider educational strategy to bring about further improvements in teaching. Not only the higher education, if you can see this slide, recently the Directorate of School Education Kashmir and Directorate of School Education Jammu had started a pilot project in J&K, Union Territory of J&K, where they had started this in these two districts, Srinagar and Jammu, while each teacher need to use this ICT technology in having the learner and this teaching learning process efficient. The teachers had to upload the videos, they had to record the videos, they had to create the e-content, then they had to upload, they had to give the assignments, question answer sessions. Then each video is to be uploaded on the LMS system, that is learning management system. It's not that only higher education institutions, but the teachers at the school level need to embrace this technology. As they had started right now in these two districts on pilot basis, they will start in the rest of the state. That means all the districts of Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir will be, will have to, that all teachers had to embrace this technology of learning management system, create the videos, upload the videos, assignments, and many other things. And then they had to record that how many students they had engaged, how many students were present in the class, how many had completed the assignments. This all information is there, and this information is consolidated by the ZDOs and then to the concerned people, and then it is sent to the CEO for scrutinization. And this is that even at a single click, you can know about any particular teacher, that what he has done over an entire period of time. So this is not in the university, this is at the school level what they had to do and they had supposed to do. So now on the second hand, we are seeing this, there is a digital boom, and this digital boom has an impact of ICT on education as well. This chart gives you that this education ICT reduces barriers of place and time. It enhances the competency level of teachers and students as well. It releases releases time for more active, engaging, and interactive forms of teaching. Then it motivates the student for self-paced, self-learning, improves teaching learning process by all means. So for a teacher, there is no going back. We live in a connected, wired world where we need to embrace this technology. So students at the same time need to taught how to engage those connections, collaborate those connections, and communicate globally in a fluent and skillful way. If we talk about from a teacher's perspective, ICT is a focus for the teachers as well. It saves time in lesson planning and administration. A teacher can make the lessons at one time and he can simultaneously distribute it to many classes. He can engage a lot more people in his own class. As in the case of the traditional teaching, it's not possible to engage more than 30 or 40 students because of the administrative controls and so many other reasons. Here he can engage a number of students across the globe from anywhere. Offers a more comprehensive approach to assessment. He can go for the assessment. He can go even check the plagiarism of this. If the assessment has been, these assignments has been submitted back to the teacher, he can check even the plagiarism, how the students had managed it, where from they had managed it, because the Turnitin software studio gives you a leverage that you can check even the plagiarism in the assignment of the students. Similarly, it reduces bureaucratic burden on the teachers as well. It enables a focus on each and every child learner style preferences, offers new ways of teaching the same things as well. As I have been told that this seminar, the time given to me is just half an hour. So I will be going through some of the slides and coming to the actual slides. So as there were responsibilities for the teacher, or what it is a focus on the teacher, the learner also gets certain benefits. It's motivating, engaging the learner, offering personal approach to the learner. It is developing collaborative and teamwork skills as well, allowing independence in learning, not in the classroom, but anywhere from the sources of this information communication technology as well. So this technology integration is the need of the hour. Technology usage is planned and purposeful. Technology is a routine part of the classroom environment, either in the form of the PowerPoints, either in the form of the videos, either in the form of these digital small assignments, or whatever form you have to use this information and communication technology in developing your class. So many points are listening that technology is essential to the teaching and learning process. It is used to facilitate collaboration in and out of the classroom. If we know that if it is a one way of system that the teacher delivers the lecture to the students in an offline classroom or in a traditional classroom, the benefits of this are there. If there is the Kuhn of learning, what has been accepted worldwide by the educationists, that after 2 weeks, we tend to remember only 10% of what we read, 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we see, 50% of what we see and hear, 70% of what we say, and 90% of what we say and do. That means once we are engaged through this in ICT technologies, interactive classrooms are there, teaching learning process is an interactive process. If we are going to do that, 90% of what is being remembered after 2 weeks, if the learner is actively engaged and involved in this interactive teaching learning process. So if we go, we have to use approach in 3 ways. One is that the learning with ICT, another is learning through ICT, and another is learning about ICT. So learning about ICT is teachers and children develop skills and knowledge in the potential uses of ICT to support learning. Learning with ICT is teachers and children use ICT resources to support the classroom curriculum. Learning through ICT is teachers and children use ICT to transform the process of teaching and learning. Fine. If there are 5 stages of embedded ICT technology, fine. Familiarization, utilization, integration, reorientation, and evolution. If anybody wants to have details of this all, I can leave the presentation with you. You can go through these, as the time is just 30 minutes. So current practice is actually, there is an imbalance, while as the transformation is needed and it needs to be balanced. We need to have utilization, we need to have familiarization, that should be balanced with evolution, reorientation, and integration of the ICT technology. As we know that we have enough number of tools available with us, even if we talk only about the Google tools, we have the Gmail, we have the Google Calendar, Translate, Earth, Translator, then Scholar, Google Plus, Drive, Docs, Map, Chrome, Classroom, Google Forms, Google Sheets, and so on and so forth. And the number is continuously growing day by day. Among them, we know that at least once we are the teachers, we need to efficiently make use of some tools for us in order to make the teaching learning process effective. We have the digital toolbox where we can, for example, if there is Google Mail, you can interact with the students, the communications which most of us are using nowadays. Then we have the Google Calendar. You can schedule all your activities regarding the teaching learning process in the Google Calendar, and you can get the reminders either in the Gmail or anywhere else, wherever you wish to tag this one. Then earlier times, it used to be that if we need to, or we wish to have a own website where we can manipulate, accept that of the website which is being provided, where a page is being provided to you on the official website of the university or any institution. Right now, you can have your own website by going to the Google sites. You can watch a YouTube video of 30 minutes, and after 30 minutes, you will be able to establish a free website for yourself where you can manipulate, add information. I had some slides regarding that, how to create the Google sites for yourself. Then you can, in the later part of the presentation, you can go through them and how to make these Google sites, personal Google websites free of cost for yourselves. Similarly, then there are Google Chrome, you know how to do about it. Then there is Digo, then there is Pinterest, and so on and so forth. I will talk about every teacher in the present times should have a Google Classroom established for themselves. With Google Classroom is easy. If we have a Gmail, we can go to, once we log into the Gmail, besides your photograph, there are these 9 dots. You click those 9 dots in your email, you will get many such informations like that of the Google Forms, Google Sheets, Google Platforms, Google Classroom, and Google Maps, and so on and so forth. So you create a Google Classroom for effective teaching learning process, where all your lectures, where all your interaction with the students, all your information regarding those students of that particular semester remains intact for your entire life. So once you create that, and you are being given as a scheme of the G Suite, where in the normal Gmail you have a 15 GB capacity. But if you have the G Suite, or you have the institutional web linking, and you are using this for educational purposes, you have n number of data available. That means this data is unlimited. You can create terabytes and whatever you wish to. So the Google Classrooms, I am requesting everybody among you who is in the teaching learning process should have a Google Classroom for your students available with you. For that, you need to have the email IDs of your students. Either you can manually join them. There is a tab beside this. For example, if there is a Google Classroom, you enter into it. This is a plus sign. You click on it, you will be directed to how to create the Google Classroom, how to allow the students to the Google Classroom, where you can upload your lectures, where you can efficiently engage with your students. This is, for example, the Google Classroom of mine, where I had almost 60 different batches or semesters available in this, and all the information, presentations, YouTube videos, links, everything is available in this Google Classroom. Similarly, then, for effective evaluation of the students, you need to have efficiency in creating Google Forms for assessment purposes, where you can send a Google Form as an examination sheet or an examination paper, whether you want multiple choice questions, you want long answer type questions, FAQs, MCQ, whatever you wish to have a question paper. You can send the link to the students and set a time in the Google Classroom that within 30 minutes or within 1 hour on that particular day, you can also schedule your examination after 1 month, that after 1 month, this question paper will be available to the students from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. and the students will get the intimation about it, and you can effectively use this Google Forms for creating question papers, assignments, and so on and so forth. Similarly, then you can create a YouTube channel of yours going same on those 9 dots besides your Gmail icon, and then you can create a YouTube channel where you can upload your videos, and making videos is not that much a difficult job. Fine, if, for example, you don't have availability that you don't want to record a new video, you can use from the open educational resources already available there. So then you can, first of all, we all being the teachers, the government of India has initiated a digital initiative for the 21st century. The first among them that created is the NDL, National Digital Library of India. which the account is free of cost given to anybody, and the digital library is hosting, it is 24/7 learning resources are available, accessible by one and all, and from anywhere, anytime. It's a single window search facility with filters through which users can personalize these search, where you want from sciences, you want textbooks, you want review articles, you want research papers, whatever you want from whichever subject, you can go through. And it is simply just like we create the email or any other site registration. Same is the case with you go to the ndl.iitk, because it was given to IIT Kanpur, and then you can establish your account, and it's free of cost for you for the life, and you can download whatever material you want. And this is OER, that means open education resources. Here the copyright form or the copyright issue doesn't come. Then there is a Moodle is actually we have, for example, Google Classroom, but there are limitations with that. Then there are many free available resources available. That is, one among them is the Moodle. So it's an open software that we call it as a FOSS, open source free online software used to create interactive online learning sites. And it is also a MOOC delivery platform, that is massive open online courses. So it is a blended learning. It is a flipped class. It involves this. It offers online courses and it offering MOOC courses as well. So you can have, this is run across almost 200 countries, and it has 100 million users to it. It is free of cost, but the condition with this is once you have a Moodle password and username or an account, if you don't, you have to be actively going to the site, and if your site is inactive for more than 60 days, your account will be deactivated. So you have to actively engage with this site. You can develop the lectures, you can develop the question papers, you can have classrooms. It is almost equivalent to that of the SWAYM, but it is freely available to every teacher, and one can go to this www.genomio.com site and register for the Moodle. It is free of cost. Then there are interactive videos where you can learn how to manage this. Fine. Then there is what teachers can do with the Moodle. That can create the online course, that can have the open forums, that can divide students into the classes, that can have chat sessions with the students, that can create online tests and examinations, that can upload files and lessons as well. Similarly, what the students can do with the Moodle, that can follow the lessons assigned by the teachers, that can have chat sessions with the teachers, that can upload their homework and tests and assignments as well, and that can check their results as well, take part in the forums as well. Fine. MOOC platforms, there are a plethora of MOOC platforms available. For example, Core is the one, it is the largest free this educational resource database available in the world. Then similarly, you can have the YouTube and going on Canvas, Coursera, and so on and so forth. One among them is the MOOCs. It's the Indian name to this Moodle platform or the MOOC platform. What MOOC means actually? MOOC means actually massive open online course. What we know that what are the advantages of this MOOC course? Although we have information available in the YouTube or the websites, but this does not give it a proper structured curriculum cells. You cannot take examinations for the Google classes. You cannot have the certificates for that. So MOOC has given a structure to the available resources on the internet. Then there is an examination system. Then you can, it is curriculum based, and you can integrate these course credits earned through SWAYM or through MOOCs and integrate them into your actual certificates, that is actual courses. If you are pursuing the PG or UG from a college or a university, you can earn them these 4 credit courses up to 20%. If your post-graduation or your graduation demands that you should have 60 credit hours, out of 60 credit hours, 15 credit hours you can earn through internet. You need not attend those classes in the college or the university. So once you pass those courses, you can put directly integrate them in your final certificate of that degree course. This is the UGC guideline that 20% of the MOOC credit course credits earned through online system can be integrated into your final certificates. So this MOOC is the massive open online courses, and we have a SWAYM platform. SWAYM means self, and this is actually, SWAYM is an abbreviation also. It is Study Webs of Active Learning for Young Aspiring Minds. So it's free of cost available, except that if a person registers for a MOOC course, then he has, if he or she wants to take an examination and get a certificate, then he or she will be need to pay 1,000 rupees minimal fees, because that examination will be held by this National Testing Authority, which conducts also UGC, CSIR, and other online examinations across the India. So I too had developed some courses on the SWAYAM MOOC, and one among the course was the immunology, and another one course is the endocrinology. This is still going on for the registration, and 2 more courses I am developing on animal cell and tissue technology, and then on physiology and biochemistry. Fine. So this MOOC is actually a 4-quadrant course, where a student gets everything in one platform. You have 4 quadrants, means you will be having 1 quadrant where it will be e-tutorials, that means in the form of PDF files or the lectures. Then it will be having the quadrant second, will be having the e-content in the form of the video lectures. Then you will be having the quadrant third, where all the resources, that means the reference materials, the book materials, research papers, and everything will be available over there, and the names of the websites, name, and the links of the YouTube videos or any other resource. Then there is the quadrant 4, it is self-assessment, that means discussions, forums, live chats, and assessment. This is included in that. So you have all of these 4 quadrants available at 1 click away from you. That is once you register for a SWAYAM MOOC and you have a user ID and password, you enter into that. All these resources will be available to you free of cost, and whatever questions you had, you can interact among the group, or you can interact directly with the teachers. So then once how this MOOC course, actually, if most of the teachers are here, I want most of the teachers from the college and the universities to at least submit some proposals to the University Grants Commission, or to the CEC, that is Consortium for Educational Communications, or to the NPTEL or many other platforms. There are 6 these national coordinators available, where you can submit your interest of expression, IOE. That means what you want to develop, where there is a course, there is a particular format for that. If somebody is interested, he can just send me an email or just give me a call. I can send him that expression of interest form, and then he can submit it, and it will get accepted. Or if the proposal is written in a meticulous way, it can get accepted, and then you can get a funding of 15 lakh rupees. For every lecture, you will be paid 7,000 rupees, and then there are it's not a free of cost that you are doing in charity. You are obviously getting a hefty amount for making these MOOC courses. So in that context, the second thing is that for a teacher that I don't have a studio available with me, I don't have an AMRC or Educational Multimedia Resource Center available with me, there is no need for that. You can have presently AZ video recorder, you can have presentation tube, you can have many other Camtasia Studio, they are available with you. You can record whatever is going on your screen, whatever you wish to record. You can have the smartphones is available with everybody. You can have these some softwares, and you can record your video at your home as well. Once you record this, you can edit that as per your choice. You can introduce some blind spots in them, reflection spots in them, where you need to engage the learner throughout the video with the learner. Then you can have some reflection spots, and you can add certain graphics, you can add certain animations, you can add whatever you wish to, you can do in that video, and then it will be presentable, and then it can be accepted. So it's not that you need a professional studio for developing these courses. Then where from to get these courses, where to get from these? If somebody even is not able to make or record his own video, for example, the older people, those who are in their 20 years of 30 years of 25 years of service, who are not tech savvy, that need not to develop their own videos. They can use the videos which are already in the public domain. That is what we have, open educational resources. It was a Massachusetts Institute of Technology initiative, where they had given that these, if you are using these open educational resource in your videos, in your audios, or in your these text files, in your e-content, it is absolutely fine. You don't need to have copyright permissions from them, but the videos and this has to be from these sites, either from the National Digital Library, this library, or through the SWAM platform, or through these websites what are listed in this. And there are thousands of websites which are providing free of cost this. Even the YouTube has Creative Commons licenses where you can certain videos which are free of cost, or which are without even being acknowledged that can be used for these MOOC courses. So then there are, you can download the textbooks from the MIT OER site, and Coursera, I believe this is the largest open resource platform available in the world. Coursera, it's an MIT initiative that they are giving free of cost lectures, courses, videos, graphics, and many other things. Fine. Then if you are using obviously something from those sites which are licensed, then you have the Creative Commons and license restrictions comes in place. Still, even if you go to the advanced search, you find a picture which you want to involve or include in your MOOC course or in your content, you can do that. But you have to go to the Google or image search site, then go to the advanced. From advanced, you have to do go to the last section, that is the copyright section. In copyright section, you can be having this copy CC, then CC by SA, share alike, CC by ND, fine, then non-derivative, then CC by NC for non-commercial, or CC by NC, SA. This NC means non-commercial, ND means non-derivative, SA means share alike, and CC by means it has no copyright issues. So if these are the ways which content you can, if it is written for a content, a picture, a video, or any material available on the internet, that it is CC by, you can use that, publish that. Attribution is not required. Even if you give attribution, fine. If not, then still it's not a problem. You can use it commercially as well, modify and adapt. But the good thing for us teachers is that we are not using anything for commercial purposes. We are using for the dissemination of the knowledge, that too free of the cost, and we can do that fine by using this. Then the Creative Commons, there are certain many other websites where from you can get this free of cost resources which are available and which you can use in your courses. For now, the science subjects are there. There, if you have content, people are often complaining about that. If we go for online classes, or we make even jokes or fun of the online classes, but it's not the time to make fun and jokes of the classes. We need to bear this reality that technology has to be used by a teacher for effective teaching learning process. So for science classes, we are often giving excuses. What about practicals? There is an initiative by the Ministry of Human Resource Development. It is free of cost. It's developed by the IIT Guwahati, and then now there are almost 120 research institutes involved in this virtual labs project. If you want to become a member or a nodal center of that, your college or your university, you can go there, register there, and have the faculty strength. You can also make those simulations. There actually they are demonstrating, you can demonstrate, you can actually show or visualize or simulate different practicals. So you don't have to do anything, you have to just go to the virtual labs site, then you have to register for that. Once you are having the registration, then you can access this all content for yourself. Even if, for example, you go for the immunology practical of WBC or TLC, total leukocyte count, differential leukocyte count, or any practical. Similarly, if you want to have a bioreactor, you want to visualize or simulate that how a bioreactor is created, what it does, this has already been created. You need to go click and show it to your students, or just send link to your students where you can effectively demonstrate the virtual lab. So this is a big project, and where almost, I told you, 160 institutes are already collaborating, and the materials are ready for most of the courses. You just need to go there, just click, and it will start simulation of a particular practical for your purpose, and it is again free of cost for you. Then there is, if somebody is not comfortable with that, then there is olabs.edu.in. It's again free of cost website where you can have for school children the different types of practicals. You can show to them, simulate them, and the physics, chemistry, biology, maths, English, statistics, whatever subject you wish to, they're all there. Fine. Then if you want, for example, your research, you want to boost that, you want to analyze whatever data you had, what you had published, what is linked, how many people are working on the same problem, what you are working across the globe, then you can have this Rexter.io. This is that artificial intelligence powered literature analysis and comprehension assistant for you. So this is for you, we teachers, that it's all again free available. There are free trials, some part of it is paid, but mostly it is free of cost available to you. If you want to analyze your research, what you are doing, what similar people are doing, then there are funding opportunities associated with this as well. Actually, there is a Bloom's taxonomy. What we talk about, we have to actually be the creators, knowledge creators rather than knowledge disseminators. We have to create. That will be only by once you have to remember, you have to disseminate it, then the students have to understand it, you have to apply it, then there are critical knowledge, basic knowledge, applied knowledge, and then analyze all of them. Once you evaluate them in a proper way, ultimately you are going to be knowledge creators. So in my opinion, the value addition provided by this webinar is simply that we have to understand first the digital initiatives taken by the government of India in higher education, especially the process of planning, designing, and implementing learning-centric courses. Especially, I told you the SWAM is one among them, virtual labs is one among them, then open educational resources is there, National Digital Library is there. Similarly, there are many courses being offered from various platforms. So you need to go to the Ministry of Higher Education or Ministry of HRD and go through these websites and then check what are the digital initiatives taken by the government of India in the higher education as well in the school education department, so as to become an effective teacher. Efficient use of many ICT tools and softwares, like for example, Screencastify. You are watching something on the video and you want that this part of the video can be a good thing for your for your course, for your lecture, for your resource. So you can record that and cut that, and then it can become part of your lecture. You have the presentation tube. Any presentation made by you or delivered by you, you can record them on the screen with the help of the laptop or with the help of a mobile phone. Similarly, there is screen recorders, Cam Studio, Camtasia, Moodle Cloud, etc. for development of quality MOOC courses with you. To create better and active communication and collaboration with the students, and to design and manage learning assessment using Moodle, Google Classroom, Genomio, and SWAM platforms. Then we have to at least learn how we can use this Moodle platform, Google Classroom, or Genomio or SWAM platforms as an adjunct to face-to-face teaching and to teach in a fully online and distance learning context. Integrate technology tools in the libraries to enhance and access the use of libraries. So learn 21st century these ICT skills and be prepared to deliver them to the students by gaining those resources from open educational resource sites. What can be a short-term strategy or action plan? Before I am concluding this now, this is the last slide, I think, that what action plan we should have. So the flip bending class teaching has to be there. Understand, first of all, we have to understand the different initiatives taken by the government of India, by the various ministries, and then understand what SWAM, what NDL, SWAM Prabha. For example, if a teacher wants to have a refresher course or an orientation course, he need not to visit now to a particular refresher course college or academic staff college or UGC center. He simply go to the ARPRIT on the SWAM platform and register for a course, and he will be delivered a certificate to his home. Similarly, then we had to make use of question answer discussion forums, Google Forms, and icon formatting, how to create question papers for the future use. So make small video and upload on Moodle, YouTube, whatever channel you have, whatever platform you have, you can make your small videos with the help of those presentation tube, YouTube, AZ cam recorder, or this Camtasia, and then upload them on different platforms for the benefit of the students. One has to update himself about the latest and trending technologies in the form of information and communication technology systems. Then create a database of the students which are available with you for use in Moodle and Google Classroom settings. then the effective use of Dropbox, because the storage is a problem in certain cases who don't have the access to their own university G Suite codes. So for them, then there is open education research, learning resources can be used for them. I think if this ICT, it has something comes with a good, but it has bad with it also. So the bad is that large costs are involved in creating the infrastructure in the education institutions, and the child's imagination power decreases, or ability to imagine vanishes with the intensive use of ICT technologies. But we have to have a balance of both technology as well as the teacher. So teacher has to adopt these all technology tools and have a balance how much he should use in effective teaching learning process. With this, I thank you all for your patient hearing. If you have any questions, you can just email me them, or you can put me on the WhatsApp. My number is in the presentations. I can leave this presentation with Umar Sahab, and he can send it to you, whatever the contacts he has. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Manzoor. It was an excellent lecture, excellent talk for our young biology aspirants who need to understand how important is information and communication technology. But we are short of time, so we'll not be able to ask you some questions. So we will leave you here, sir. Thank you, appreciable. And I would like now invite Dr. Khurshid Tariq, Senior Assistant Professor, Islamia College of Science and Commerce. He is expert in parasitology and immunology. He has immense potential and is involved in different science outreach programs. He is a regular popular science writer in Greater Kashmir and is involved in different activities. He has got both national and international awards. So Dr. Khurshid is going to talk about smart biology, which is basically need of ours to understand what exactly is smart biology. So over to Dr. Khurshid Tariq. One minute. Hello?
Yes, it is okay. It is okay now. So thank you very much, Dr. Umar. Am I audible? Dr. Umar, am I audible?
You can go ahead. Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Umar. And Assalamu alaikum to all of you. A very good afternoon. It is a privilege to be part of this event. And to me, it is a very well sought and most important theme, because as Dr. Manzoor has right now deliberated on the role of information and communication technology. And today, although teachers' role is still central, we are the facilitators, but the revolution of ICT has made the teaching quite versatile. And I think everyone needs to be smart, whether a student, a teacher, a professor at any level. Without smart technology, we cannot move ahead. So I congratulate the whole team of choosing this very relevant and up-to-date theme for this webinar. And before I proceed, let me share my screen so that I can come to my talk.
Sir, go ahead, share. I have changed the setting. Okay.
So I will be talking on the relevance of information technology in biological sciences, and my title I have chosen is Smart Biological Sciences and Emerging Field. So before I can move ahead to justify my topic, why I have chosen that biological sciences is an emerging field, let me tell you that a biologist without technology is, I feel, is some sort of a handicapped nature. Because you just see the revolution of technology and see how the knowledge is being created and how it is updated on daily basis. Here I want to cite one important example. Most of you might have come to know that till around 300 years or 3 centuries before, what was known to us is that sperm cells are the spermatozoa of animal cells, or particularly the mammals. What they do, they swim. But the intervention of the smart technology, more specifically the 3D microscopy, we are now made to believe, no, they don't swim, they supine. Now, this is the point where we can see how the technology, how the information technology, and how the innovative tools and technologies governed by the information technology, they are enabling us to understand the life in a better way at nano and molecular level. So that is why we say research. So it is because of the research that the biological sciences. So I feel that we cannot miss a bit of it. And once we have those skills and those capabilities, that innovation power, that we can keep pace with the emerging trends of the sciences, and same is the case of biological sciences. So information and communication technology, it will not be only useful for the teaching learning process, as Dr. Manzoor has in a very elaborate way deliberated upon this, how important it is the ICT in the modern teaching and learning processes. But as I told you, my intention here is to see how the information technology has revolutionized the field of biological sciences. And in order to justify my title, the title I have chosen for this seminar, I'll be justifying my title by talking in 3 different aspects. Number 1 aspect I will be talking about is why and how is biological sciences smart? How can we say that biological sciences is smart? So that will be number 1 aspect I will be deliberating upon. Then number 2nd aspect will be, what are the areas in the biological sciences where we can develop the skills using information technology? Is biological science open to IT, that we can say skill development in biological sciences can happen and we can better way integrate the information technology with the biological sciences? So this will be my point 2nd to deliberate upon. Then in the 3rd aspect I'll be dealing on, I'll be citing certain examples, certain cases where we see practically that what has been the impact of information technology or smart technology in the biological sciences so far. And we are accepting it, that we are now accepting, or we are going to accept that it is the era of emergence of bio-entrepreneurship. So the new business, because of the technological intervention of IT in the biological sciences, it will not be merely just for teaching and learning, but it will emerge as a bio-entrepreneurship. So these are the 3 areas I'll be talking about. Now, as far as the first aspect is concerned, as I told you, the first aspect is why and how is biological sciences smart? Well, you might be knowing the basics of the biological sciences, they rest on the trio principle. That is the principle of observation, experimentation, and interpretation. And because of these 3 aspects of the biological sciences, the power of observation, the power of experimentation, and power of interpretation, biological sciences has assumed a central role today. I recall here a quote from one of the greatest physicists, the Ernest Rutherford. Once he had said, what he has said? He had said basically that all sciences basically only physics. Every other science is stamp collecting. But I believe now that has changed. If we talk of just biological science, it has such an environmental and societal relevance that we cannot proceed or move ahead without having know-how, without having education about the biological sciences. So I say biological science has evolved because of the information technology. And most importantly, we have to remember, biological sciences is not just used by the man to generate the material prosperity for him. It rather provides the material to develop skills in three important aspects. One is the critical thinking, the power of critical thinking, the skills of critical thinking, in understanding the evidences and later on developing the argument. And the machine-based technologies or the smart technology or the information technology is basically helping us to make these three things easier for us. Because of the intervention of IT, these three aspects of the biological sciences, they become easier, right? And again, one more important thing related to the IT, you see, we talk almost about science, technology, and research, but the three things are very much what is called as some sort of, I may say, triangular relationship. You see, it is research which changes science, but we cannot forget, we cannot deny that science is not changing research. Science is changing research. How? Because the technologies are emerging. The intervention of IT is the best way to understand this thing, how the science and the research mutually go on, and both science and research, they are not meaningful unless until they are tied to the academics or the education. So this way, we can say then the biological sciences is now smart. Now, how it is smart? Because we are living in the era of artificial intelligence, or we are living in the era of machine learning, or we may say 3D microscopy technology. So they have basically helped us to change the old biological concept and thinking. Because you understand, this is the evolution of systems biology, synthetic biology, biomechanics. We are not studying the traditional biology. For example, we are moving from silicon chips to DNA chips. How is that possible? The future computers will be having DNA chips. So this is how technology is not working basically in isolation. Technology is working in connection with the biological sciences. And I may not be wrong to say, if I quote a term here, we are heading towards the biointelligent manufacturing system. Biointelligent manufacturing system basically is the field which is bringing up, that is the use of those natural designs, principles, mechanisms, which nature has basically created every form of life on this earth. But man is now trying to mimic all those ideas, how the nature has designed every form of life. And that field is upcoming as biointelligent manufacturing system. But this biointelligent manufacturing system is not evolving without the intervention of information technology. But again, here I want to cite a more important point, most important for our students, which are the actual stakeholders of these programs or these events. You know, ultimately having a degree, having a certificate, having a diploma, whatever you have, ultimate fitness will be what type of self-knowledge you have developed or you have created, and what are the soft skills you have. Unless and until we don't have that much of knowledge and those soft skills, I think we'll be unfit in the market. And most importantly, sometimes knowledge will not work, but it will be the skill which will work. So that means we are now moving to the next section of my presentation. I will justify it that knowledge and skills of biological sciences are very much important in the field of biological sciences or biological studies. Certain things here, certain important points which will justify our motto of how we say that knowledge and skills of biological science are important. You see, number one important thing is we need to develop the individual sensitiveness to nature and make the student, the actual stakeholder, the biologist, that she should feel at home, quite easy understanding the nature. Number second point is we need to develop the scientific temperament and outlook. Without this thing, we cannot move ahead. We need to explain the living world to our actual stakeholders in terms of the scientific principles. And we need to satisfy the curiosity of the students. We need to provide them the means and ways how they can explore their innovative ideas. Everyone comes with the ideas, the dreams, the goals, but we need to provide them the platform. So as teachers, we have a tremendous role here. As teachers, as facilitators, as mentors, we need to provide that sort of environment to our budding, emerging biologists so that we will be able to stimulate the spirit of investigation, invention, and formulation of hypotheses. We can improve the power of their observation, experimentation. We can develop the problem-solving capabilities and capacities in them. We can inculcate the spirit of how and why, because without how and why, science doesn't move ahead. We can inculcate the habit of understanding natural design principles and mechanisms. And when I am saying these, that knowledge and skills of biological sciences are important to incite these parameters among our students, among our budding biologists, and we cannot do basically justice with this until we don't introduce the skill development areas in the biological sciences. So I'll be moving to the next slide that I will try to see how the areas of biological skill development can help us by using information technology or smart technology. Now here I have cited certain of the areas which we have not basically touched yet in our curriculum, but I feel it is very important that we introduce these areas as biological skill development areas in our curriculum. Although we are presently offering so many skill enhancement courses to our students, but the unfortunate part about those courses is that we are offering them at just in a theoretical way. I believe we need to shift from that inertia. We need to basically provide the skill and enhancement course such a way that we really are able to create and enhance and develop the skills among our students in the biology. So I will let you know certain titles. I feel these areas are very important. If we use information technology, we can develop better skill of our biological student. You see, biomimetics and bioinspiration. This is very important because biomimetic engineering is the emerging field. It is going to revolutionize the life in the coming days, or I may say in the coming years or the coming times. Similarly, biomechanics, we have to see what are the natural mechanics involved in the biology, and we need to be very deep into nature to understand those things. Obviously, we have to offer courses on molecular cloning. So I will just read out the titles here. If someone has any clarification, I can provide later on. I can explain them one by one. Taxonomy and identification is very important. Environmental ethics and disease modeling is very important. Skill and enhancement area using IT. Modeling of climate change and biological system has assumed much of the importance because we are witnessing the tremendous impact of climate change, and that impact of climate change has on the emerging and re-emerging infection. You see, the COVID-19, what's this? It's an emerging infection. So we need to have the courses on the public health to understand those emerging infections. We need to have skill enhancement courses on genetic counseling, human betterment, similarly on animal cell culture, on stem cell technology, on sensitizing gene technology, genomics, proteomics, bioinformatics, so on courses. And I believe most of the titles may come from you. If I have provided some titles over here, this may not be enough. Dr. Umar? Yes, it is there. It has got, yes. No, I have shared the screen. Yes, it is. Yes, it has. I have not clicked on it. Right. It's okay. Thank you, Umar. So, friends, I was at this particular slide. I was just highlighting the important areas wherein we can see how we can use IT and develop the skill areas in biological sciences. So after that, I want to clarify one thing, that skill development is both in basic as well as applied biological science very important. As I mentioned certain topics, and I also hope that most of the institutions, most of the higher education institutions in our region basically are offering these courses, but I still believe certain of the courses have not yet been touched. So, but if they are being offered, they are being offered the traditional way. My point is that we have to use the smart technology because we need to be smart. The time has come that how can I say that I am not well versed with the smart technology? when ICT has revolutionized our teaching learning process, when a scientist has become a smart research scientist, so how can not be a teacher smart? He should be able to use IT, not only in the delivery of content, in the teaching learning, but in the research too. So I may say a student needs to be smart, a teacher needs to be smart, a scientist needs to be smart. And when all the three are smart, so obviously we can say biological sciences has the scope that we can make it more smarter day by day by making the best use of what is called as information technology or smart technology. But I want here tell you one important thing, that the problem with us is that we are not basically doing or working to that level which we should do. Although these courses will be with us, we'll be trying to have the skill development in the biological sciences, but there is something that we will not be having that much motivation to innovate or develop skill enhancement. The reason is basically right from the schooling, when our students are trying to understand or to study science, we are not basically to infuse in them the true spirit, the passion of pursuing the science. And when they come to the level of higher education, we have to basically start from the beginning. So we try to introduce everything, we try to inculcate everything, but that obviously has a problem. So my point is that we need to go to the school level to be the real bio-innovators, to be the real bio-entrepreneurship holders in the field of biological sciences. So that will be very important, that if you are able to connect the school education with the higher education, and obviously the role is more of the higher education people, because we need to connect ourselves with the school education. Although there were initiatives in the previous regime of governance in the Kashmir, also in the J&K, in fact, that the schools were being honored by many higher education institutions, so that we're in a position to provide them the facilities of lab work, research. So that purpose was basically this, to enthuse them right from the beginning, how they can progress very well. And once they are in the higher education, it will be very easier for them to excel in the field. So that is the point which always concerns me. So this was by in the previously I justified my this number second aspect, that what is the scope of using IT in the development of skill areas in the biological sciences. Now we reach the third point, that is we want to now see how has been the impact of information technology in biological sciences. Because we say use of IT, we can do information technology, we can do smart technology in biological sciences. But here I want to provide you some certain live cases, certain जिनको हम जिंदा जावेद मिसालें बोलते हैं कि कैसे इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी ने रेवोल्यूशन लाया है ऑलरेडी बायोलॉजिकल साइंसेस, एंड वी कैन नॉट डू अवे विद दैट. वी नीड टू कीप pace with it. You see emergence of smart devices, you see emergence of androids in the market, and you see the simulation, the modeling of biological factors and the systems. As I told you, we are living in the systems biology, synthetic biology, biomechanics. But information technology, the Android technology, the smart devices are enabling us to connect this thing with the society right way. So it is not something that we will develop the smart technology and everything in the classroom or in the lab. No, we need to reach, it should have the outreach. So the smart technology is basically helping us to connect with the society, to connect with, because it is only when we understand the society, the science evolves, the technology evolves, because there is a link. As the societies change, obviously technology changes, science changes. So it is because of when we understand the needs of the society, we can provide a better science, we can provide better technologies, and the systems and synthetic biology is basically heading towards that. And similarly, the evolution of virtual laboratories, as Dr. Manzoor told you already, the need of virtual lab. In sciences, we cannot do justice by teaching online and whatever the laboratories. But it is not that these are not available. Almost in every sciences, the virtual laboratories are available. So through simulations, through modeling, the practicals are being demonstrated. And here I want to share one important thing with you, is that our college, the Islamia College of Science and Commerce, has been chosen as the lead college in our Kashmir Valley to develop the virtual laboratory. We are working in this field. Inshallah, in the coming times, the real virtual laboratories are going to come up in our region, and we will be offering the practicals also through the virtual mode. So that is the beauty of information technology. So we cannot be what's called a door locked in our rooms. If we are door locked in our rooms, but still the techniques can enable us to pursue, to enable, to teach, to learn at the same time both theory as well as the practical part. Similarly, information technology has revolutionized the biological. So you see the gene sequencers, the DNA microarrays, the DNA microchips, the biosensors, the neurobiotics, the genomics and proteomic life. Where from they came? These names are with us, but they are with us only because of the information technology. When the smart technologies, we are discussing these terms. And you talk of the DNA profiling, even you talk of the DNA printing. We are now heading to DNA printers. So where from the DNA printing came? It is the intervention of smart technology. Now we are able to print the blueprint of the life. And we can have a copy of that particular thing. Just we have other printers of other things. So this is how the technology is advancing. So can we be mute spectators? Can't we update ourselves? Can't we say that we are very much needed in the biological sciences? So we need, that is why I stress that we need to be smart. Even you talk of email and the World Wide Web website, can we do without them? No. Even we are working this time, we are on this webinar, it is because of the technology. But we need to communicate, it is the email. But we need scientific collaborations. I need to collaborate with Dr. Manzoor. It will not be possible for me to physically go. I can mail, we can collaborate, we can discuss, we can say what we are going to do. I have an idea, we can collaborate on that. Not only to talk of within the Kashmir, in any part of the world. So when we say email and www is also very important. So how can we deny that we cannot use smart technology? We cannot enrich our biological sciences with the smart technology. You talk of the bioinformatics. When the bioinformatics evolved, we thought it has what is called as changed the life sciences from basics to applied. Because it is true. Because you see the mathematical computational modeling of the life. Now we are understanding life in other terms. We have the database, every organism we know, but its database will be with us. It will be easier for us to study it. I can share the database of any organism with other person sitting in any part of the world. So this is the beauty of the technology, the information technology and bioinformatics, although its roots are in the biology, but without technology, without mathematics, without computation, without topology, it is nothing. So I cannot say I'm a biologist when I have no information about information technology, about smart technology. I am not smart, I am nothing. I cannot teach better, I cannot deliver better, I cannot research better. When I am not able to collaborate with the people sitting in any part of the world, how can be a good biologist? So collaboration is only possible because of this technology. And most important thing, you see the brain-computer interface, the evolving era of biological sciences. We have the brain machine is evolving because of the artificial intelligence. So what will it do? It is basically, it will restore the mobility in the people. Because you see, there are so many brain and spinal cord damage in the people. They lose their life basically because of this. But the brain-computer interface is giving us the light that we can use artificial intelligence, we can use machine learning, because I believe that now is the coupling of man and machine. Man is nothing without machine. So when this coupling of man and machine has happened, we have better prospects. So why? This is the field of medical sciences. But I believe here, medical sciences connected with the biological sciences. You see, the basics is all you study from the biological sciences. So if the medical science people will be saying the brain computer is a domain of medical science, no, I may say it is the biologist, because who is the biologist who has the basic knowledge of a neuron? So biologists connect this basics, this science with every other, what is called as science evolving because of the intervention of smart technology. And as I told you, DNA printing or DNA profiling, but I want to cite here one more important, that the evolution of optogenetics. You might be knowing certain algae, they are able to turn on and turn off the expression of their genes because using the sunlight. Because of the light, they can turn on and off. There's a separate topic, and this property is with certain algae. But we mimicked this technology, not me, but the people who are biomimetic, who have the passion to pursue nature. You see how we mimic the natural principles. And by optogenetics, it has been now shown the what is called as the open door, that we can do now miracles with the biology, that by using light through the smart technology, we can turn on and off the genes. So this is again a brilliant technology and emerging technology, right? So again, the important field is you talk of the nanobiology. Without nanobiology and nanobiomimetics, we are nothing now. It is being thought that it is being considered now that the next 3 decades will be the field of nanobiology, because nanobiology will be helping us to be very deep into the life, that using this knowledge, using this innovative form of bioengineering, we will be able to basically see how the nature has designed every form of life, and what is the machinery, what is the mechanics, what is the principle, what is the design nature has used. You talk about the so many what is called today technologies. These are the origin of these technologies, life itself, because of the biomimetics. You see the design of aeroplane, where from it came? It came from the bird architecture. You see the design of the drone. Similarly, nano machines are being developed. Nanotechnology is being developed. So this is only possible because of nanobiology. And I want here give one more example. Halcyon is a recent antibiotic that has been discovered using the smart technology, using the artificial intelligence. And this has been found to be very effective against tuberculosis. So when we say that smart technology is also helping us to devise better antibiotics in the presence of the antibiotic or drug resistance. So we are compelled to believe that almost every aspect of life sciences, biological sciences is being taken away by the gene technology, by the information technology, made with the gene technology only. Because gene technology is with us. We now know how we are able to manipulate, to alter, edit genes. And gene technology has been basically modified now to a more newer version. You see the use of CRISPR technology. The CRISPR is a natural design used by bacteria. We mimic it again it. By using CRISPR, we can alter any form of life. But here I want to tell you one important thing, that it has evolved. It has given rise to rogue science also. Rogue science is basically unacceptable science. There are certain things where we should have no authority to play with the nature, but man is doing it. We are trying to alter the nature at every level. But there is the challenge with that, and bioethical societies have evolved throughout the world who are taking care of this particular thing. So with this, I have justified by all the three aspects. I wanted to talk that how the biological sciences needs to be smart and how it is an emerging field. Now in the concluding remarks, to conclude, I may say, you see, technology is now exceeding human brain power and super intelligence will emerge. So when we say super intelligence will emerge, we will say it's the era of super biology. And when we talk of super biology, we need is a smart biology. As I told you in the beginning, scientists is now smart. Education is now smart. It is being offered through ICT mode. And when the teacher is teaching through the smart mode, and when the learner is learning through the smart mode, so I can definitely say that everyone is now smart. Smart student, smart teacher. And those of us who are not fit in this field, I think we need to work on it. We need to work on it. We need to keep ourselves smart, right? So I hope I would have been able to somehow justify my talk that how the biological sciences is smart, right? And as I will read now, it's an emerging area, it is an emerging field, and as students of biology, as teachers of biology, we need to well-verse ourselves with the use of information technology, because without information technology, we will be again handicapped, that we will not be in a better way to understand, teach, learn, and do research in the field of biological sciences. And the last quote I want to share with you, that we need to understand the societal needs. Unless and until when we are not able to understand the societal needs, we will not be in a position to develop better science, to create better knowledge. Because you know, as a society, we are living in this part of the world. Why are we always dependent on the people from Europe? Why we adopt their system? Why we adopt their knowledge? Why don't we devise our own? The problem is that we are not connected with our society. Our research, our teaching is not connected with the society. We don't understand our societal needs. So we need to connect our society. Once we are connected with our society, we are in a position to understand our society. I believe we can be even better scientists. We can do better things. I just will quote one thing, that we are very good at adopting, but we are very poor at devising. So once we're poor at devising, we are adopting. So when we will be adopting information technology, no problem, but we'll never try to evolve this technology. We will try to use the information technology in our own way. So this is my last point to say, that we should respect our societal needs. As a teachers, we have a very important role, because we connect our educational system with the society. So as teachers, we can connect our educational system best with the society. And once we are successful in that, I may say that we will be the best evolvers and we will be the best adapters and we will be fit, and I may say we will not miss to be smart. Thank you very much for the patient listening and giving a proper hearing to me.
Thank you, Dr. Khurshid. It was excellent talk. Indeed, we need to integrate technology with the society. So the crux of the talk was that we need soft skills in our education system, whether it is biological science. We are running out of time. We don't have time to ask a few questions. So participants can ask questions in the WhatsApp group, and they can contact you in the email. And as I know, these are the influencers and motivators, and he is excellent researcher. Thank you for the talk.
Thank you.
So, okay, we will move to another. Okay, just. So we have another resource person here, Dr. Irfan Rashid, Assistant Professor, Geoinformatics, University of Kashmir. And Dr. Irfan is well-known researcher from Kashmir University. He has expertise in remote sensing, environmental science, and glaciology. Dr. Irfan is part of cutting-edge research on global warming and climate change. He is collaborating on different projects which has international collaboration. And he knows how to use GIS and remote sensing technology in different areas. As you know, these are the techniques we need to involve in different areas. And need of ours is to know about these technologies and then carry out research on these areas. So he's going to talk, and I may tell you here, he's a young researcher and has got INSA gold medal last year. So I am here inviting Dr. Irfan. He's going to talk about use of GIS remote sensing technology and biological interface. So please welcome Dr. Irfan.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity to discuss about the science of remote sensing and its applications in natural sciences, and I have touched biological sciences as well, so that I think remote sensing technology has not touched really as far as Kashmir region or Kashmir research is concerned. We have very few researchers in the biological sciences who are using the science of remote sensing or GIS for their use. But however, it has tremendous applications, not only in basically the earth sciences field in which I am working, earth and environmental sciences, but also in biological sciences, social sciences as well. So my talk essentially will be basically focused on the introduction to some of the basic concepts of remote sensing and how we can use or how we have used the science of remote sensing in understanding the basic earth and environmental processes in Jammu and Kashmir, largely in Jammu and Kashmir region, but also specific to Kashmir Valley. So I would like to request to you to enable my screen sharing so that I can share my PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, you are allowed.
And I concur with Khurshid Saab's last few basically sentences that yes, we need to basically adopt to the cutting edge scientific tools and technology, be it AI, be it machine learning, be it geostatistics, be it biostatistics or bioinformatics, or a new field like science of remote sensing, which we have been offering at the University of Kashmir since 2010. And I must also point out here that Kashmir University was the first institute in the northern India to start a PG diploma course in remote sensing and GIS in 2004. And after that, we started offering master's course in geoinformatics since 2010 and already 8 of the batches have passed. We have this year the 9th batch, which is about to receive the certificates. And all of the pass outs have somehow been accommodated in various departments, like we have the State Remote Sensing Center, the Srinagar Development Authority, the Lakes and Waterways Development Authority. So we have students who are working in those departments and utilizing the knowledge gained in the university in the real application area of biology, as well as other parts of other aspects of our life. So my topic, basically my presentation topic, it is more of a research oriented kind of a topic, and it is basically about the role of remote sensing GIS in the natural resources assessment or natural sciences. So as far as remote sensing is concerned, it is basically for some people like biologists, it may be a technique or a tool, but for me as a person who is teaching remote sensing, is the science, and it is a science in which we use satellite data primarily. But it is not the space-based satellite data that we use. We use basically ground-based remote sensing instruments also. And as far as remote sensing is concerned, it is basically the science of acquisition of information about Earth, about any Earth surface feature, without basically getting into touch with that object. For example, we use a remote in our homes for maintaining the temperature of air conditioner or changing the TV channel. It is a remote system. Similarly, we have satellite data. We have a number of satellites for almost everything what can be observed. Operating in the space. At around 750 to something like 32,000 kilometers above the surface of Earth, which tell you, or which gather or capture the information about each of the Earth surface features that are there on the Earth. And then we have a synonymous term called GIS, which is a Geographic Information System. It is basically an information system. Information system is actually a data processing software. So it is a data processing software specifically designed for basically creating, for synthesizing, for managing, for deleting or appending any of the remote sensing components or any other remote sensing information that we gather from the satellites. And then we have a similar kind of a tool that is called a GPS. You have your Android mobile phones on which you use. Most of us use basically Google Maps, which is actually integrated with the GPS, and that GPS signal is received from the cellular towers that we have. But actually, if you use a GPS, it is a radio navigation satellite kind of a system in which we have 24 satellites in the upper space orbit, and they consistently basically transfer or transmit information to your GPS receiver, and you get very exact information about where your receiver is located on the surface of Earth. And together with the use of remote sensing, GIS and GPS, which is called geoinformatics technology, it has been widely used in the developed world and also in the developing world like India for various Earth surface or for understanding various process-based phenomenon that people in the past did not have much information about. So I'll be discussing, for example, I am showing over here a Google Earth screenshot or a Google Earth image of high mountain Asia. The high mountain Asia includes the Himalayas, the Pamir Mountains, the Tibetan Plateau. As you can see, some of the areas which are white on this satellite image are basically the snow and glaciers that we have. And we know that this Himalaya is called the third pole because of the highest concentration of glaciers outside the polar regions. And it is not just snow and glaciers that we have, it is also the green color that you see on the image is basically the vegetation biodiversity. So we have Himalaya, in the Himalaya, we have two biodiversity hotspots where we have a large amount of flora and fauna, endemic flora and fauna, which is not found elsewhere in the world. So the green areas are basically refuges of those uniquely endemic basically biodiversity that the high mountain Asia has. And this image has been captured from a very high resolution satellite called ICONOS, and in that satellite you can even map basically a feature which is having a dimension of 1 by 1 meter on the surface of Earth. So for example, if you have a car on the university campus or in the college campus, if you have an image of that particular date, you can exactly map that basically feature which has a dimension of 1 by 1 meter on the satellite image. And then we have another kind of a satellite data which gives you about information about the topography. What we call technically is a digital elevation model. And if you see Himalaya, if you look at the mean sea level of the Himalaya, we have Mount Everest, where we have basically the mean sea level touching at something like more than 8,000 meters. And we have many other peaks in the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir, wherein we have about 6 or 7 peaks where the elevation above the mean sea level is going beyond 8,800 meters or 8,000 meters. What this means typically as far as biodiversity is concerned is, if you have a large variation in the topography, you have a large refuge or niches of biodiversity. And it is because of this reason, one of the important reasons is that because of the large variations in the topography and climatology, primarily governed by the topography, that you have two biodiversity hotspots in the Himalayan arc. And this is again a satellite image of basically Jammu and Kashmir, dating back to 2010, June 2010. And the cyan color that you are seeing on the image is the huge amount of basically snow and glacier reserves we have. And the red in the image basically indicates the vegetation biodiversity. And you know, we have a lot of wetlands and lakes over here, and we have a lot of national parks. So we can use basically satellite technology to look into all these aspects of earth and environmental sciences for precisely generating the knowledge that we do not have the knowledge about. And this is again a 3D view of what the remote sensing can help us in doing. This is the basically 3D view of the Kashmir Valley. You see the paramecium in the middle of the slide. This is Kashmir Valley. And you see a small blackish spot. This is Wular Lake. And you have agricultural plains. But the white spots over here indicate the snow and glacier reserves we have, on which I think the entire sectors, all the sectors of economy, be it the tourism, be it the hydropower, be it the irrigation that is fed to agricultural fields, is dependent upon. And any change in the snow and glacier reservoirs will mean basically changes in the biodiversity, changes in the lakes and wetland ecosystems, and all the economic sectors that are dependent on the water. And I do not want to basically deliberate onto this, but this is how typically a remote sensing satellite system works. We have a satellite, and usually the source of energy which the satellite senses is the reflected energy of the sun. Basically, sun is the source of energy, and when the light falls on any Earth surface feature, it gets reflected. And if the satellite traps that reflected radiation, so it basically, all the Earth surface features have different signatures. Vegetation has a different signature, and even in vegetation, we can discriminate between the individual species types. And then all those species types, because they have different basically leaf structure and leaf moisture and leaf structure, it is able to help us discriminate basically among the the various types of vegetation species that we have on the landscape. But it is not just the landscape. We can characterize ecosystems. We can sometimes map the species distribution, and we can also model using the remote sensing data or the GIS data. We can model basically species distribution. And then what we do is this satellite basically, when it senses this reflectance, it transmits it to basically the receiving station. For example, in India, we have a receiving station at Hyderabad. We have a data center, National Remote Sensing Data Center at Hyderabad. And it basically, all the Indian space missions that are currently operating basically transmit the daily data to the National Remote Sensing Data Center located at Hyderabad. But we have many other agencies besides India. For example, we have European Space Agency, we have NASA headquarters, which also basically use Earth observation information for example, ascertaining the health of agriculture, ascertaining forests, ascertaining the hydrology, geology, and many other applications that I'm going to talk in the next few slides. So specifically, when it comes to satellite image, so this is the satellite image of Kashmir Valley. But if you look into the satellite image, we have a lot of white patches and we have a lot of green patches. The white patches over here indicate basically snow. Some of the white patches that are globular in shape are basically clouds. If you use this kind of a satellite image, this might not give you a very basically detailed assessment about the vegetation. For example, if some biologist is looking at the vegetation cover of Jammu and Kashmir. But what we can do is, because satellites come after every, they have a repeat pass, for example. So some of the satellites basically come to visit over Kashmir after every 16 days. But there are certain satellites which visit Kashmir Valley daily. So we can have data at daily time step for looking at the characteristics, or how the greenness in the vegetation, for example, is changing, or where is the deforestation pressure prevailing in a landscape. So maybe this image might not be sufficient, but what we can do is, we can look for an alternative source. Although this image does not have a cloud, but it has an influence of snow cover in it. So again, we cannot use this image, and somehow we need to look into an alternative source in which you can look at, if you are able to look into my slides, you can look at individual basically tree crowns. You can measure the individual number of tree crowns in a forested compartment, for example, and then ascertain what is the density of forest patch over there, and whether we need to go for afforestation or not in a particular forest patch or not, because there is a scheme like compensatory afforestation management planning authority, in which the forestry people have to basically identify landscapes, degraded landscapes, where they can go for afforestation schemes. So if you have this kind of a data where you can measure the individual crowns and where you can measure the density of a forest, you can precisely basically give an information to a planner as to where the afforestation campaigns should be focused upon. For example, if you look at the deforestation trends or deforestation areas or the areas where deforestation is prevalent. So if you look into the Pir Panjal region of the Kashmir Valley, which includes Shipian, Tosumadan, you have a lot of deforestation that has happened over the course of last 30 years. So most of our afforestation schemes or afforestation programs should be focused on that, because satellite data as well as the ground measurements also tell us that that area is very, very degraded as far as forestry is concerned. But sometimes this might not give me the exact information. For example, if I have to get the information about the kind of species that is present on the landscape, you require a very high technical expertise as far as remote sensing is concerned. But what we can do is, I as an earth scientist can take help of a taxonomist who is placed somewhere in the botany department of the university, and I can use a GPS and take him to the field and identify the individual species, be it trees, be it herbs, or be it the shrubs. So on this satellite image that I showcased over here, you can see the forest, you can see the scrublands or the shrublands, and you can see the pasture lands. But you cannot identify the species, individual species. What are the dominant species in these forests or in these pastures? What we can do is we can take help of a taxonomist, and then he can help us to generate some information which we can analyze in a GIS. Similarly, we are doing a project with Ministry of Earth Sciences about basically microseismic zonation. All of us know that Kashmir Valley is located in a very high risk zone as far as earthquake vulnerability is concerned. But if you look at the construction material of the buildings that we have, the houses that we have, so it is entirely different. In a colony or in a downtown area, for example, I can say the diversity of settlements is so much that even if there is earthquake of intensity of 7.5, you may have certain houses crumbling under that intensity, but you will have a lot more houses which will withstand that earthquake intensity. So what we did was we tried to ascertain, or we tried to generate information about the individual households. So what we did is we first used the remote sensing data, the high resolution remote sensing data, the 1 meter remote sensing data that we procured from National Remote Sensing Center located at Hyderabad. And then we tried to map the individual houses in one of the wards, which is located close to the Kashmir University, which is called the Kathi Darwaza. But this does not give us any information about the land use, land cover patterns that we have. And then what we did was we used this GPS and we went to something like 150 places in this single ward, and we tried to look at what is the pattern of land use, land cover. What kind of buildings do we have? Do we have just agriculture? Do we have just residential kind of buildings? Or do we have some government departments? Do we have educational institutes? Do we have some hospital in a particular ward or not? Because at the time of striking of an earthquake, it may be very important for us to look at what is the proximity of a settlement to, for example, a hospital, because we need to treat the people, injured persons who are there. Similarly, we try to map each and every inch of basically Srinagar city using the high resolution remote sensing along with the extensive ground-based observations to come up with a map like this, which gives us a detailed classification or a detailed view of the land use patterns that we have. Similarly, if somebody is interested in, for example, how sustainable or how green is the city, Srinagar city, or how has the greenness of the Srinagar city changed over the course of time. So we can have satellite images from past 60 years, since 1960s, we have the satellite data, and using that satellite data, we can see how the urban or how the green cover in the Srinagar city has changed, and whether it has gone down a critical threshold so that we cannot call it a green city or something like paradise, or it is one of the most beautiful cities as people project it. But because the urban green cover is decreasing, it is impacting the aesthetic beauty of the Srinagar city. So we can use satellite data for these purposes as well. But as far as natural sciences are concerned, we can use basically geoinformatics or the science of remote sensing and GIS for ecosystem characterization, for alpine studying the alpine ecosystem changes, for studying even the disease epidemiology. Somebody was talking about coronavirus, but if you look into the applications of GIS, historically, if you Google it, you will see that it has been first used for the spread of malaria somewhere in early 1700s, somewhere in Europe. Similarly, we can use basically the science of geoinformatics for habitat suitability analysis or the environmental impact assessments, because we are lying or living in an ecologically fragile area, and where we have a lot of tourist development authorities coming up. We have a lot of hydropower plants coming up, and all these mega tourist or mega infrastructure projects basically need environmental impact assessments. And if you do not use remote sensing or the science of geoinformatics in these environmental impact assessments, I think the projections that those impact assessments are going to give will be faulty. And at the same time, we can basically map and model the species distribution in whatever area we want to map using the cutting edge technology of science and remote sensing. And the goodness is that all of these components, be it habitat suitability, alpine ecosystem dynamics, the epidemiology, the species distribution modeling, these are somehow interrelated because nothing in nature is independent of each other. And as Tariq Saab was also mentioning, that we have a dearth of basically pursuing, or I don't know whether we have a dearth or whether we do not have a will of basically pursuing interdisciplinary research. I mean, how many of the biologists in this forum use basically science of remote sensing for ascertaining the pollution or looking at the species distribution of certain ecosystems? I think none of them. So it was Umar 2 or 3 years back who approached me as to how we can use basically science of remote sensing in looking at or ascertaining the parasite distribution of fishes in some lake ecosystems of Kashmir. But I do not see much of that happening or translating onto the ground. I mean, in the Kashmir University itself or in the other universities, sister universities that the state has, we have a dearth of basically, or we do not have a will, or I think we are cocooned in the sense that we do not basically project, or we do not pursue basically the interdisciplinary research, which is very, very important for getting an insight into the earth surface processes that are prevalent over the region. As far as ecosystem characterization is concerned, I am basically pulling each of these components that I have mentioned over here one by one. So the first thing that I want to touch is ecosystem characterization. And I am basically putting up an example of Dal Lake, which is basically located in the heart of Srinagar city. I mean, how many of the tourists will visit Srinagar city if there is no Dal Lake? Probably none. And it is so important both for tourism purposes as well as the heritage value that this lake has. And we try to use basically some of the information from the environmental sciences, some of the information from the biological sciences, some of the information from even the social sciences, which included demography in and around the Dal Lake ecosystem, to characterize the Dal Lake ecosystem, where the waters of Dal Lake are good and where the waters of Dal Lake are bad and need immediate policy intervention. And what we did was, we had basically remote sensing data since 1960s, but we have survey maps wherein basically the Britishers who used to rule us before 1940s, basically they surveyed, they have surveyed, carried out extensive surveys, and we have maps available for the Dal Lake since 1859. So if you see the amount of redness in these maps in 1859 and 1903, you see
Hello.
So similarly, I was talking about this Dal Lake ecosystem. I was somehow muted by the administrator probably. So if you look at the Dal Lake ecosystem, and if you look at the urbanization patterns around the Dal Lake ecosystem, around the immediate catchment of the Dal Lake ecosystem from which the waters come into the Dal Lake ecosystem, we have seen that the urbanization or the amount of settlements that have come up in the vicinity of the Dal Lake have increased by 400% in just last 60 years or so. So this has put up a lot of basically pressure on the Dal Lake in terms of the sewage that has been generated or that is getting generated from these settlements, and then it finally finds its way into the Dal Lake ecosystem. Although there are basically sewage treatment plants that the Lauda has set up, I am not contesting that, but the efficiency of the sewage treatment plants is not helping in the conservation or restoring the pristinity of the Dal Lake. So what we did was, we used this kind of information, the population information, the water quality information, using the water quality data set that we analyzed in the GIS, and then socioeconomic information to come up with the degradation status of the Dal Lake. And if you look at the Dal Lake, most of the areas basically highlighted in this map in yellow and basically red are basically severely infested, where the pollution levels are high, or where the lake waters are severely degraded in terms of water quality. So these kinds of basically areas require immediate intervention. For example, as far as STP is one of the management intervention, but STP is not only the single basically intervention which can help us in restoration of the pristine water quality of the Dal Lake. It has to do a lot with the deforestation or the forest cover in the immediate catchment of the Dal Lake also. So what this analysis revealed was that the stars that you see in the map are the operational STPs, but the dots, the black rounded dots that you see, are the STPs that need to be set up in various parts of the Dal Lake so that the water quality of the Dal Lake is restored, as at least for drinking purposes, as far as Bureau of Indian Standards are concerned. But somehow the yellow and red portions are still, this research was done in 2013 and published in 2017, but we are in 2020 and we do not find any change in the water quality of the Dal Lake. And if we look at the past as well as current status of the water quality, be it alkalinity, be it the nitrate nitrogen, which is directly coming from the sewage, and the phosphate phosphorus, which is also coming from the sewage. If you compare the water quality of Dal Lake with respect to 1977 and 2014, you see that the nitrates and phosphates have gone up by something like more than 10 times, because the amount of sewage that is getting into the Dal Lake is very huge, and this has altered the physicochemical properties. Biologically, what does it mean is we had a species called Ramgurun, which is called a Botia birdie. It has gone extinct from the Dal Lake because it used to basically survive in the clearer waters or in the less polluted waters of the Dal Lake. But now we have Ramgurun, which has totally got extinct. Then we can use basically the science of remote sensing in species distribution mapping and modeling. We had one of the efforts, nationwide efforts in which Kashmir University was a part. We tried to map the vegetation map or vegetation types of India, and for the state of Jammu and Kashmir, we basically came up with, or we delineated for the entire state of Jammu and Kashmir 25 vegetation maps using the science of remote sensing. And it is not just that we looked on the satellite data and we framed our results. We basically went to the field when we did some analysis in the lab. We went to the field and we collected something around more than 15,000 points, and from those 15,000 ground control points, we tried to assess the accuracy of the remotely sensed vegetation type map, and its accuracy has been basically 90%, and it has been used by basically Ministry of Environment and Forests for framing up various policy measures at the national and international levels as far as Indian state is concerned. Similarly, we try to look into the alpine ecosystem changes. If you look into the alpine ecosystem changes, they are primarily governed by, or primarily forced by, the rising temperatures that are prevalent over the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And this is a scheme or a screenshot wherein I am quoting two papers, both observation as well as climate model analysis results, which are showing that the temperatures by the end of the century are going to go up by 7.5 degrees centigrade if we do not basically adopt climate resilient measures. And what this 7.5 degree will mean is we have this azolla problem, or alien invasive species problems in our ecosystems, be it terrestrial ecosystems or be it the aquatic ecosystems. And if we have temperatures going up by 7.5 degrees centigrade by the end of the century, so it will completely alter the ecosystem structure. So this is one of the examples, again, a modeling result that we pursued at the University of Kashmir, in which we tried to look at how the snow cover and ice cover, which is represented over here as basically golden color or golden yellow color, is going to end by the change by the end of the century. It is not just the snow and ice cover that is going to change by the end of the century. It is the vegetation types that we have, the broad vegetation types that are basically adopted at a global level as far as the nomenclature is concerned. They are going to basically, because of the changing climate, because of the rising temperatures prevalent over the region, they are going to change by the end of the century. Similarly, some of the basically colleagues at the botany department, they are working at species distribution modeling. Typically, they are looking at basically alien invasive species. So we have one of the shrubs which is called Sambucus vaishyana, and this is the Kashmir Valley, showing some of the watersheds of Jahlim, which include Leather, Sindh, Vishau, and then we have Pohru also, we have Ferozpura also. And one of my colleagues who is working on basically alien invasive species or more mapping of alien invasive species using ground-based surveys, he wanted me to give some GIS insights into the distribution of Sambucus vaishyana. And if you look at these 5 watersheds of Jahlim Basin, you can clearly see where are the hotspots of Sambucus vaishyana and where do we need immediate intervention measures so that this species is somehow thrown out of the ecosystem, because what it does is it is alien species, but at the same time it is invasive species in the sense it is throwing out the native species from the alpine pastures and succulents of the Kashmiri Himalayan region. And similarly, we have another example of Anthemis scotula, which is again an invasive species. We have many other species. We have modeled about basically 15 species using GIS environment as far as these 5 watersheds are concerned. But I thought that I'll showcase over here 2 species, Anthemis scotula and Sumbucus vaishana, to give you some insights into how GIS can help us in basically modeling the species distribution as far as invasive species or non-invasive species even is concerned. Then we have basically role of this remote sensing in AIS as well. So this is a map on the left hand of this panel. You have a map which has been prepared, which was actually prepared by Pahalgam Development Authority, and it had basically, it is a land use land cover map. But why is it important is because some of the villagers, they were not allowed to basically construct or do some modification of the houses which were facing imminent threat because of certain things, because the safety factor of the buildings had gone. But what they had done is the Pahalgam Development Authority, somebody who is a cartographer in the Pahalgam Development Authority, he had made a map in which he had classified green zones as non-green zones and some of the non-green zones as green zones. What it typically meant was the villagers in a village called Laripura, for example, or in a village called Mandlan in Pahalgam, they were not able to modify or do any kind of modification to their houses. But the hoteliers or the big shots in the Pahalgam town, they were able to construct houses in the Pahalgam, in the vicinity of the Pahalgam region, which is actually forested area and which is a green zone. So we tried to look into this survey map and look at high resolution satellite data to look at whether this map is actually representing the ground. And if you look at both the panels, the left hand panel, the right hand panel is actually the satellite verified basically land use land system of basically Pahalgam area, and on the left hand basically what we did was we identified 188 discrepancies in the Pahalgam Development Authority map, and there was a PIL filed in the High Court of Jammu and Kashmir in Srinagar. So they cautioned this environmental impact or an eco-zonation plan map that was framed by the Pahalgam Development Authority. But what it would mean basically for the ecological zonation or the pristinity of this Pahalgam is there is also this wildlife sanctuary called Overa and Aru Wildlife Sanctuary, some of which falls in the Pahalgam area. And if you look at the ecological zonation, which has been prepared from this land use map, the topography map, the geology map, and the soil suitability map, we came up with this map, which is called the ecological zonation map. We tried to look into what are the extremely sensitive areas, what are the least sensitive areas, and what are the moderately sensitive areas. And if you look at the least sensitive areas, the green spots on the map, these are areas wherein you can go for some sort of construction, limited construction. But the areas in something like blue and red are totally, construction should not be basically allowed. Whatever sort of construction is there, it should be either removed or the further construction in these houses should not be, in these areas should not be allowed. Then we have basically a problem of man-animal conflict prevalent in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, because we have a lot of forest cover that has gone down. If you look at the 2 maps, which are of 1972 and 2010, for the southern part of Kashmir Valley, we try to look at the land system changes and how land system changes impact water quality. The intention was that, but we can use these sort of maps for understanding how land system changes basically force the man-animal conflicts, because there are a lot of injuries, and these land system maps can also help us in habitat suitability analysis of some of the critically endangered species like hangul we have in the Dachigam National Park. And if you look at the 2 maps, we have a lot of changes in the green cover. And if you look at the statistics that we have analyzed of these 2 maps, we have the forest cover in the last 38 years from 1972 to 2010 going down by 18%. And if you look at the landscape that I was mentioning earlier, the Pir Panjal range, we have the highest forest deforestation rates prevalent in the basically Pir Panjal range. It is not just the dense forest that has changed, it is even the cropland cover that has changed. If you look at the agriculture land that we had, the rice paddies that we had, maybe 3 decades prior to current times, we had a lot of area under rice paddies. But what has happened is government has promoted this horticulture industry because they are saying that it has a capacity to generate a GDP from 6,000 crores to 30,000 crore. And there are a lot of incentives which are being given to farmers, and then they are basically converting their agricultural lands into apple orchards. What this has done is, it has helped as far as economy is concerned, but what it has done is, at the same time, we are losing basically the indigenous capacity to produce basically rice. and we are dependent on the outside states or foreign states for our rice imports. And we are importing, actually, we had been importing a lot of rice from Punjab and UP, but I think if this scenario of land system changes continues to happen, we are going to be entirely dependent on the other states for our food security. It is not just the food security and the deforestation. If you look at the snow cover, I was talking about the important sectors of economy, for example, the agriculture, the horticulture, the agriculture, the hydropower, the tourism that we have. So we have been seeing a lot of changes in the snow cover. So even as of now, Kashmir has been experiencing a very dry spell, although we had some intermittent rains over the past few days, but it is still considered to be a very dry spell as far as the meteorological records are concerned. And if you look at the satellite data, it also reveals that the Kashmir region is losing perennial snow, or the snow and ice reserves that we had at a very alarming rate. And if this kind of a scenario continues, and if government does not look into these aspects, so obviously the fragile ecosystem that we talk about is going to crumble at some point in time. And as far as the applications, biological applications of this remote sensing or geomatics technology is concerned, it has also its applications in basically the epidemiology, as well as I was saying that it has been used in the spread, or in discussing or in understanding the spread of malaria, but it has also been used in understanding the spread of COVID. So daily you will see some portal. There is a portal called this Worldometers, in which you can see what is the growth of basically coronavirus cases across globe. And if you can link that data to a WebGIS portal like this, you can precisely understand what are the hotspots where COVID is spreading at a faster pace. And if you look at China, for example, they have largely curbed this spread of COVID because of certain intervention measures, and that is reflective on this also. And you can precisely, or WHO, for example, at the global level can implement policies at the global level as to where the intervention measures need to be done at the global level, so that the spread of such diseases is curbed. Nonetheless, these are some of the limited applications that I discussed over here. It is not the end of the world. I had a paucity of time in the sense that the presentation was to be completed in 30 minutes. But a takeaway message is we need to move from traditional approach of pursuing research in the black chambers of our lab to more of an interdisciplinary research, like somebody was saying artificial intelligence, I'll add machine learning, I'll say pattern recognition, I'll say remote sensing, I'll say geostatistics, I'll say biostatistics also. So that basically when we pursue this interdisciplinary research for basically and use these cutting edge scientific tools and techniques, we have a better understanding, and that better understanding can help evolve as a better society, scientifically informed society, so that whatever problems, be it pertaining to health or the environment or the ecology that we have, they could be better addressed, and the immediate policy basically interventions could be adapted by the policy makers as and when such information is shared with them. But this interdisciplinarity or adopting this interdisciplinary research does not mean that we need to basically cut down on the basics. We should compromise on the basics. We have to have, for example, I am a person who is equipped or who has some kind of a knowledge in remote sensing and GIS field. I do not have much information about, say, for example, fishes, but somebody who's a fish expert can give me some information or insights into the fish biology or fisheries aspect of it. And if we can integrate basically the GIS technology with fisheries, I think we can do wonders. So interdisciplinary at any cost should not mean that we should compromise on the basics, but yes, we should keep our mental corridors open for collaboration so that we can produce some cutting edge research for the benefit of the society. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Irfan, for excellent presentation. And basically, I have invited you, resource person, to give your knowledge over young researchers, youngsters, so that they are able to go for research by integrating these techniques, tools, and techniques. So youngsters are requested to contact these resource persons so that they get acquainted with these new tools and techniques. That was the aim and ambition. So I thank you again. We don't have time, too much of time here. So I thank you here. So I'm going to invite now Dr. Roof Hamza Boda, coordinator. He is presently coordinator Herbal Gardens J&K, and he is also nodal officer ICPRITHVI WWF of India, Kashmir division. And I can tell you he is vibrant and motivated researcher of J&K. He has got too many these awards from national and international agencies, and he is regularly attached to different science outreach programs, and you will learn many things from him. I request him to tell about different activities which he is carrying out in J&K. He's not only linked with other states of J&K, but also worldwide. So I request now Dr. Roop Saab to join us and address the audience. Rosa.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I am highly thankful to Principal Government Degree College, Khanawal, Head of Department Zoology, and those who are seeing me online or offline. I am working on various initiatives. First initiative is our herbal garden program, and we have been the pioneers of this program in schools and colleges. We helped a lot of institutes to establish herbal gardens. You know, our herbal wealth is facing threat due to our exploitation. And secondly, we have been working on plastic mans. It's a program which has been initiated by UNEP, United Nations Environment Program. I am also nodal officer of that program, and we are making people, and particularly young generation, aware about the ill effects of polythene. Today's topic is non-green revolution through high-tech mushroom cultivation. You know, mushrooms are non-green organisms. That is why this topic has been chosen, non-green revolution, but at the same time, they offer a number of benefits to mankind, which range from protein-rich food, anti-cancer drugs, and they also help in making our environment. They establish the links of ecological balance. Mushroom refers to macroscopic fruiting body of fungus. That is just like we have apples, we have pears. Same is the case with the mushrooms. Mushroom is just like apple of fungi. These generally belong to basidiomycetes and ascomycetes. You can see here the general parts of a mushroom. Usually they grow in dark and moist places. You can see stem-like structure. This is called setipe, and cap-like structure. It's called thallus or cap. It has just an umbrella-like typical shape. Other structures you can find here is universal whale, hymenium, or gills. You can see where the spores are found. Similarly, we have vulva. Mushrooms are grouped according to the spore-bearing surfaces or structures. Some mushrooms have gills, some mushrooms have pores, and some mushrooms have tubes where spores are produced. These are some mushrooms which are found in our Kashmir Valley at very high altitude. For example, Turbinellus folliculus. We have Auricularia species and we have Ramiria species. These are edible mushrooms which have unique shape and are abundant in our forests. This is the general life cycle of a mushroom. You can see it has basidia on the gills which produce spores. Spores germinate on the substratum. Substratum can be anything from bread to forest soils, or it can be a log of wood. And after that, it produces mycelium on which sex organs are produced after fertilization of the spores. Again, you can see the full-grown mushroom is formed. Mushrooms are a wonder group of fungi. You see, world population is increasing exponentially. We have to keep pace with the changing populations. We have to feed hungry mouths and at the same time, not only feed them, but provide them a balanced diet. So need of the hour is to tap the other resources besides traditional plant and animal resources, and mushrooms offer best option for this. Most of the mushroom products offer high value dietary supplements which are called mushroom nutraceuticals. They are rich source of protein, and in case of plant or vegetable world, they are the most richest source of this protein. That is why they are also called vegetable meat or myco meat. They have more proteins than milk. Mushrooms are also good source of energy, carbohydrates. They are low at fat, but the fat content is usually rich in polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are very helpful for our health. They have huge potential as a source of anti-cancer drugs. Their polysaccharides are mostly anti-cancer in nature, and they also decrease the negative effects of chemotherapy. They are also known as vegetable vultures because they produce a lot of extracellular enzymes which are industrially also important, and they can degrade a number of pollutants, which is nowadays a big problem in our environment. Even they have capacity to degrade the radioactive pollutants. Recently, I heard in news that the Russian nuclear reactor, which bursted a few years back, now there are a number of fungi which are eating up the pollutants there. And why we should go for the high-tech mushroom cultivation? Here is the answer. We have some mushrooms which are very highly prized, For example, Cordyceps sinensis. 1 kg of this kg, that is a mushroom can fetch you 5,000 rupees. And why it is so valuable? Because it acts as an adaptogen. What do you mean by adaptogen? When you suddenly reach the high altitude, or the people who go to Mount Everest, they generally eat these cordyceps mushrooms because they give much energy to our body. They induce mitochondria to produce more ATP. Even in Tibet, this is called a Tibetan Viagra because they are treated as aphrodisiac. And that is, you also know that in news, this was prominent that Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, used to eat these mushrooms because of the high workload. He feels satisfied after eating this mushroom. Another mushroom which can fetch very high amount. This is truffle. Truffles are underground mushrooms which are excavated or which are removed from the ground by using trained dogs. And you can see here a pound or 455 grams of this mushroom can cost more than 2 lakhs. Here we have our own delicacy which is called moral, and in local language it is called a gucci or guch. It can even weigh 30,000 per kg dry weight. It is also an anti-cancer mushroom and it has a unique taste. But unfortunately, no method has been devised by which we can cultivate this mushroom. That is why these mushrooms need technological high-tech intervention so that they can be produced on mass level. Now it is clear that in fact mushrooms offer non-green revolution of food, medicine and environment. Now we have been cultivating mushrooms since 1600th century, but that used to be traditional methods. Our methods are evolving with the passage of time, and I think although this pandemic has given a tough challenge to human beings, but some positives are coming out of this. For example, we are now going high tech in case of education system and in case of research. So although we are facing new challenges, same is the case with the mushroom cultivation. This used to be, and still it is, it's a labor intensive industry. Mushroom cultivation is best skill to empower a population, particularly in the rural areas where raw material is available in bulk due to the agriculture activities. A large number of waste products can be bioconverted. That is how we can get rid of a lot of waste we produce in agriculture, and that usually remains unused. We generally burn it and it causes environmental pollution. But if we go for a mushroom cultivation, it will be a better enterprise for a farmer, so that even waste can give him some sort of income. Mushroom cultivation can support local economy by providing sustenance, food security, nutrition, medicines and employment. It creates opportunities for improving the sustainability of small farming systems through recycling of organic waste. And what is the positive thing about the mushroom cultivation? That we do not need much land for this. That is why we say mushroom cultivation utilizes vertical space. Land is not the limiting factor here. You can see in this slide, you can grow it in your home. There are some basic protocol how we can grow these mushrooms at home, or how it can help. We can help a farmer. Generally, we collect mushrooms. We go for the mushroom forays, mushroom collection tours, and we bring mushrooms. We take a spore print. What is a spore print? We keep these mushrooms gill side down on a paper, and they deposit their spores. What is the spore? Spore is just like we have seeds in higher plants, and in case of these mushrooms or fungi, we have spores. Seeds propagate the plants, and spores propagate the mushrooms. These spores are good means to propagate these mushrooms or fungi. What we do, we take some spores, and after proper sterilization, we inoculate them on the agar. After some time, after proper incubation in the incubator at 35 degrees, we get mycelium. And later on, we inoculate this mycelium on the semi-violet rice grains, which acts as our supon. After incubating these these inoculated grains, we put them in incubation chambers, and after 15 days, or it can vary from species to species, we can inoculate the compost. Compost is generally a pile which is made from rice citra. As I already told you that we have a lot of agriculture waste, rice citra, wheat citra, or even paper chips, wood chips we can utilize. And after keeping these bags of citra, or which we can pile in mushroom shed, they grow mushrooms. Here you can see the short procedure for composting. We can start with the leaves. Leaves, when they fall on the ground, we can collect them, and even the grass from what we get from our lawns, we can use it. And after mixing thoroughly, after aerating it, after adding water for some time, after 10 days, it becomes dark brown, and we can grow mushrooms on it. Here is the protocol. First of all, we have to chop the grass or citra. Then we have to soak it in water. We can also sterilize it by using formalin. After that, or we can use boiling water to sterilize it. After that, when it retains enough moisture, about 70%, then we can further keep it for several days. Then it becomes a complete pile, a complete compost, which is ready for the growth of mushrooms. We then add those wheat grains which have been inoculated by the mycelium of the mushroom. After 3 to 5 days, when we keep them in a mushroom shed, they grow small mushrooms or pins, and for keeping them at a particular atmospheric temperature and humidity, we get mushrooms which can be marketed either fresh or sun-dried. Here you can see the semi-violet wheat on which we can grow. Grow mushrooms. These are the bottles containing supon of Agaricus bisulfurus, the mushroom which is generally found in markets and you eat at homes. This is our raw material, the chinar leaves, which can be used to grow mushrooms, and these are semi-composted chinar leaves. This is the pile of rice citra or wheat citra, rice citra, on which we can grow mushrooms after keeping them in polypropylene bags in a mushroom house. This is the complete cycle, how this pile is formed, how composting is done, and composting can take place. Complete composting can take place after 28 days. What is the criteria that composting has completed? It is that the criteria is smell. When this heap produces no odor, no smell, then it's a good compost, and we can grow mushrooms on it. You can see we have organic material on in the form of leaves or in the form of citra, which is added some water and air. After that, there grow some more organisms like bacteria. At the second stage, fungi grow, and at the later stage, there can be some centipedes, worms, etc. And at this stage, we can say that this compost is mature enough to grow mushrooms. Here in the market, we can see that a number of high-tech these dustbin shaped composting bins are there, so that we can produce our own compost. It's a 3-stage composter. You can add kitchen waste, which can be vegetable waste or peels of these fruits, and after 3 or 4 months you can get your own compost and you can grow your own mushrooms at home. These are the growth of mushrooms in a mushroom house or mushroom shed. Generally, this technique, there is no technique involved. It is labor intensive. This is the mushrooms grown on a compost bag. And we can also go for a log culture. Log culture is generally used for those mushrooms which do not yield to wheat composting or this leaf compost. You can see we can use walnut, we can use willow logs, but these logs should be fresh, and after they decay they cannot produce they cannot support proper mushroom growth. And this is the diagram how a mushroom shed can be established. We should have storage room or shade or shed. We should have boiler room, tunnel. We should have cropping rooms where mushrooms grow. There should be several cropping rooms. We can start it at our home. This is the view, inside view of a mushroom house. This is the smart mushroom house. How technological intervention can be there in a mushroom house. The cultivation which I was talking about is primitive. It is labor intensive, and we can reduce the need of labor if we introduce some smart technologies in the mushroom cultivation. And we can use sensor-based technology right from the spore prints to compost formation and up to the growth of first flush of mushrooms. Mushroom cultivation technology, as I told you, utilizes primitive technology, so we must upgrade this now. Here I suggest sensor-based mushroom sheds. A sensor is a device that detects and responds to some type of input, which can be some environmental parameter or a stimulus. Actually, it's an input device. Sensor, we can use sensors for composting. Use of sensor in composting makes automation easy. We can monitor temperature, pH, gases in the pile by using these sensors. And sensors are nowadays very cheap. They are available in market. You can get even online. Even for the cutting and grinding of these grasses or paddy, etc., we can use sensor-based machines which can cut the cetera to accurate length, which actually we need for the composting. Specific types of substances can be formed for specific type of mushrooms. Chemical composition of fire can be determined by these sensors. Even use of robotic arms for picking up mushrooms when they are grown on the polypropylene bags or bags containing compost. Here, what is the role of sensors? We can sense the temperature of the mushroom shed, because temperature is the parameter which is essential for the growth of these mushrooms. And right from the composting up to the first flush of mushrooms which we get, temperature is to be regulated between some permissible limits. It should not be too low and too high. Similarly, light sensors are there which we can use. Generally, light is not needed in the mushroom house, but when we go in and out of the mushroom house, we need light. So there can be some lights which can be which are based on sensor, which can go on and off as we need. Similarly, we know gas sensors because a lot of carbon dioxide is produced during the composting or during the growth of mushrooms on this compost. So we must detect if carbon dioxide levels go up, there can be increase in the temperature in the mushroom house, which can damage our crop. So these sensors automatically detect the rise in the temperature, and later on exhaust fans or ACs go on automatically. Similarly, these are the different types of sensors which we can use in our mushroom house. These are available in market, as I already told you. Getting maximum productivity out of mushroom farm requires day by day change to optimal humidity, temperature, and carbon dioxide. So we must control these parameters. This is the block diagram how we can use the sensors, and I find it very easy nowadays to use the sensors or the probes for cultivation of mushrooms. Just we need some source of electricity or AC or DC current to control the mushroom house energy needs, and use some sensors at different corners of the room near the stands containing these mushrooms, which can be connected via Wi-Fi to our mobile or to our computer. You can control the parameters, how much carbon dioxide we need in the room, how much humidity we need in the room, by using Android apps on your mobile. It is fully automated. Even water which you apply at composting or during the mushroom growth, during the pin stage. Similarly, there is need of technological intervention to determine whether the mushrooms have reached the size where we can pick them and market them. This is called a plus or cap size. There has been some sensors which can calculate, or these are actually cameras which can calculate the growth rate of mushrooms by calculating the size of these plus, and this saves a lot of time of farmer. Otherwise, he has to inspect it daily whether his crop is mature or not. Because if crop will grow beyond a certain this size, suppose are produced, then it cannot fetch him any market price. So his all efforts are in vain. A smart mushroom measurement system using image processing technology employs the internet processing network camera. The system automatically measures and records the size of the mushroom cap and growth rate during the fruiting. The harvest time can be estimated by obtaining data. The diameter of mushroom with sufficient nutrients can grow up to 10 centimeters. Since bigger mushrooms go for better price, farmers expected to harvest mushrooms with large size. As a result, farmers spend a lot of manpower. So here our smart technology can rescue farmers. Growth of crops is what farmers care most. This system measures the size of mushroom, which is base of farmers' harvest. Major data can be used as the basis of optimal adjustment of greenhouse environmental control, and even further upgrade level the intelligent export system. You can see after obtaining mushroom size, as it is multiplied by the resolution of the image or the camera we use in the mushroom house. To estimate the actual size of mushroom, S is equal to S into R. The growth rate G is calculated by dimensional change of the mushroom in a time period. It is compared to the first measured size, the rate G. G is equal to Sn minus S1 divided by M, where S is the first measurement result, Sn is the ninth measurement result, M is the time period from S1 to Sn. The harvest time T is estimated, T is equal to S minus St by G. So these sensors help us to calculate not even the size of the
question from the audience side. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Roop Saab. We were out of reach for some time because of internet connection. So we regret for that. So Dr. Roop Saab has given excellent lecture on high-tech mushroom cultivation. So his talk was actually how we can transfer technology from lab to field, and how we can start a business, entrepreneurship, etc. So these are the tools and techniques which you need to understand and need to inculcate to share with your students, and to allow your students to know these techniques and tools. So this topic is so huge that our speakers can speak for whole day, but we have some time limitation. So in the end, learning something new can be a fun. So in biological science, if we integrate new tools and techniques, new technologies, it can we can transform it. But Dr. Khurshid Saab was saying into a smart biology. That we cannot only educate our students, science aspirants, but we can provide them job opportunities. That is how skilled education or innovative education is all about. We need to produce skilled human resource which is ready for new challenges and opportunities, and they are just prepared for the industry. So that is the need of our. So in the end, I will give you a word of thanks on behalf of Principal, Head Department of Zoology, and Head Department of Zoology, I would like to propose word of thanks to each and every participant which has contributed towards the success of this webinar. You can imagine that more than 300 participants registered to our webinar because of the selected title. So we were participants were from different universities, colleges, schools, and different institutions. At the outset, I am happy to thank our patron, Professor Mushtaq Ali Mir, Principal Government Degree College, Anantnag, for his continuous encouragement and support. I extend my thanks to Head Department of Zoology for taking lead role in organizing this webinar. I extend my sincere gratitude to Organizing Secretary, all faculty members of Department of Zoology for cordial support. My sincere thanks are due to Dr. Manzoor Ahmad Mir for his beneficial thoughts, for his beautiful thoughts on the role of ICT in biological science, and he also elaborated the virtual concept of virtual laboratories. I am highly thankful to Dr. Khurshid Tariq for highlighting the emerging concept of uh, smart biology. I extend my gratitude to Dr. Irfan Rashid, who highlighted the importance of GIS and remote sensing in biological science. My sincere thanks are due to Dr. Roop Saab, who discussed the high-tech mushroom cultivation, and he highlighted how we can change the scenario by using different technology like laser technology. I again thank all of you for spending your precious time with us. I hope this webinar will entice more deliberations on the similar topics and titles. With this, I'm signing off to join you again next time when we have similar type of topic to discuss with you. Thank you all. करो बंद